don't think I would be a therapist if I get paid. Like, it sucks. It's like really hard right now. Hi, so today I wanted to talk about the reality of finances. Oh my God. The reality of finances being a first year out of grad school as an AMFT in the Bay Area. So basically, after I graduated this summer, I decided to stay at the same clinic that I did my practicum. I still believe that was the best decision for me. I really love the way that they do therapy, like the style of therapy and kind of like what the values that they have at this clinic. So I'm so glad that I stayed, and I was literally thinking last night how I don't think I would be a therapist if I wasn't at this clinic, because yeah, TLDR, it's like really hard right now financially. So anyways, I love this clinic. The only thing is their pay is really low. They think there was like a recent legislation passed, pretty much limited the types of AMFTs that could be non-paid. So a lot of AMFTs have to be paid now. And so my clinic just recently started paying their AMFTs. They're paying basically minimum wage. I get $21 an hour for every client hour that I have. Minimum wage in San Francisco is a little under $19, so not great, not great. So a little bit more about my situation. At this clinic, they really wanted every associate have 10 clients. So actually not 10 clients, 10 hours of seeing clients. So, you could have a client that comes every other week, so you have more clients, or maybe you have a client that wants to see for longer than an hour. It doesn't matter. Basically 10 hours of seeing clients every week was the goal for this clinic. So I did my financial calculation hoping that I would see 10 clients per week. The reality now I've realized and I've accepted is that this clinic hasn't been getting as many referrals or getting as many clients as we usually are. So I basically haven't increased my client load since I was a trainee. Basically in the last 3 months, I haven't gotten any new clients. And a lot of my clients decided to go bi-weekly because I've increased my rate because now I'm an associate. Even though that doesn't really affect me because no matter how much the client is paying, I'm still getting paid $21 an hour. But anyways, right now I basically see 3 to 4 clients a week. Yeah, do that calculation. $21 an hour, 3 to 4 hours a week. I get paid like $300 a month. Yeah, it sucks. It sucks so much. I struggled financially. I was very stressed financially when I was in school because I was hoping that I would be able to work full time while I paid tuition and I'll be paid a tech salary. I decided not to do that because it wasn't worth it for me, and I had a really hard time balancing school, seeing clients, practicum hours, and full-time work at a startup. So I knew I decided not to prioritize finances in that way while I was in school, and I was really kind of just hoping that I was things were gonna look up once I was done with practicum, because during practicum you're not paid, and I was like, okay, once I'm done with practicum, I'm an associate, I'm going to be paid more, so I won't have to be as financially insecure. I'm not going to be at the same stage as I was when I was working in tech and getting 6 figures, but at least I thought I would be pretty close to not being in debt every month, basically paying for my expenses. I thought I'd be pretty close. But it turns out I'm very far off. I definitely spend more than $300 a month. This apartment in the Bay. So in the beginning, I kind of thought, okay, maybe my client load will increase and I'll get to 10. It's been 3 months I've been at this clinic, and I've kind of just accepted that I need to figure out what to do next. So I've kind of broken it down in my head. I have a sustainable therapist-focused path options that I could take. And then I have more a finance-focused path and options I could take. So if I'm focusing on really prioritizing being a therapist in a sustainable way for me, ideally, I would get a part-time job at a nonprofit. That is really what I want right now. That's for many reasons. One, nonprofit just typically aligns a little bit better with my values and hopefully is a little bit more intense than the startup environments I've been in. ideally, well, also, it's not a service type of job. I think as a therapist right now, it's a very different type of job than I have when I was in tech, and I would really, it would be so great if I had something where I'm like literally at the computer and I don't have to like focus so much on oh my god, my cat, you up? No, okay. It'd be great if I didn't have to attend so much to like customer care, service type of job. So ideally, that's what I would find right now. I think a second option would be part-time service job, retail, restaurant, anything along those lines. There's a lot of flexibility. Third option would be to find a therapist part-time job. So basically work as an AMFT at another clinic. I really don't want to do that because I just have had not great experiences with supervisors, and I just don't align with the values of some of the other types of therapy. So I feel very hesitant to going that way. I'm also hesitant of like getting burnt out if I have a lot of clients and do a lot of clinical work. So it's an option, and I probably won't do it. Like, I would rather work at Trader Joe's. I would rather work at TJ Maxx than be an AMFT at a clinic where I don't agree with how the director views the client-therapist relationship, or not being able to choose what type of hours I have or what type of client I see, or just being more limited in that way. I would much rather just not be a therapist in that kind of context. So those are my three options if I really want to focus on being a therapist. If I want to be more focused on finances, well, actually, I'll go in order of what I want. Full-time nonprofit work. So again, nonprofit typically aligns better with my values, hopefully less stressful than a startup. And then I would basically see clients ideally before work or on the weekends. I think if I saw clients at the end of work, I would kind of just be in my work mode and it'd be harder for me to kind of transition to being a therapist. And then my second option, if I want to focus on finances, is like full-time tech work, ideally as a data analyst. Kind of mentioned this in my other videos. I've been a data analyst, operations manager, associate product manager, and engineer. I've done a lot of different things. I feel like my resume is kind of more geared towards startup work, but based off those different roles that I've had, the data analyst role I think would be low-key the most chill out of all those ones I mentioned. I felt like it was much more defined in scope usually, which is a thing that isn't really done in startups. You kind of have to wear a lot of hats. So that's kind of all the options that I have. But right now, I'm basically applying to all of these options to see what is available, and like then deciding based off the job, if I ever get an offer, if it's gonna work with me. That's kind of my situation right now. I don't want it to discourage you if you are thinking about being a therapist, because I know one of the biggest differences that really prevents people from switching from tech to therapy is the money. Like, there is a big difference. But I have, as someone who's gone through this and is like currently in the roller coaster of financial stability, I still don't regret making this career choice. Yes, I may be going back to tech, I may need that money, but I know like at my core that like I want to be a therapist. Even if I go back to tech for a bit, I know I'm going to go back to being a therapist based off the experiences I've had, the people that I've met, the things that I've learned. It's what I want to do. I am a little shocked by like how hard it's been financially. I'm just kind of like sharing the reality of this transition for me right now. And I also want to emphasize that I have chosen multiple decisions in my life where I didn't put finances first. If finances is your priority with making this transition, there are definitely things I could have done different. Things I could have done differently, things you can do differently to make sure that that is like you're making something sustainable. Like for example, yeah, I didn't work full time. I could have worked full time through my whole program. I decided not to do that because I wanted more time for myself to digest the information. I decided to work at this clinic that paid minimum because I really love this clinic and I didn't want to work somewhere else. So there are just big decisions like that I have made for myself where I didn't put finances first. And if that's what's most important for you, you can make a different decision. So I don't want to like say that this is kind of like what's going to happen. There are lots of different decisions that you'll make probably as a therapist that works best for you. And so you'll figure out what's going to work. To be honest, it is hard. Yeah. Okay. Well, I'll see you later. Bye.